Hey, we've got a problem here.
What did you do?
Nothing. I stirred the tanks.
Whoa. Hey.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we have a problem.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and I know we've seen that the big bailout from the government that went out to help small businesses, and we were kind of thinking that comic shops would be a big beneficiary of this and would hopefully be able to use these programs to kind of navigate these very difficult times, these dangerous waters, and hopefully come out the other side when things get back to normal or start normalizing a little bit, and still be in business. But, it turns out that the government program that was specifically aimed towards small businesses was overwhelmed, and it might not all be going towards small business. And here to talk with me about this is my good friend, Nalo. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Wes. So glad to be back on the channel and further explore these kind of financial times and how it affects the comics and entertainment we all love.
Yeah, so we talked about this a little bit when they rolled out this program, which I believe was funded to the tune of $350 billion. They somewhat underestimated the amount of need or the people that would be applying for the program, and essentially it's already out of money almost immediately. How did that happen?
So it seems like the program was wildly popular to the point where when applications opened, you heard stories of many banks' websites actually crashing. I was participating in my personal life applying for this as well, and I took 40 attempts to even get the application in because the website kept crashing. And that's just for one bank. I heard it from other banks, and even the actual SBA small business website, it was also kept crashing. So the demand was really, really high. The package kind of sounded too good to be true, and everyone's like, wow, I can get this lifeboat for at least another month and not have to worry. But the guidelines wound up changing at the midnight hour before the program went live, and made it more accommodating for large businesses to actually sneak in there. And because the banks actually make money off of doing this work for the government, they seem to have prioritized the biggest loans. And then those biggest loans are not really going just what you would traditionally think of as a small business.
So basically, when they changed the rules at the last minute, the banks got a commission fee for basically doling out the money in there. So the larger the amount of money that they sent out through the program, the larger their commission fee was going to be. And then you said that they also changed some of the rules to where, like a big franchise, let's say like a nationwide franchise that certainly wouldn't have anywhere near 500 employees or less, they could actually place claims for this benefit, by single stores rather than as a nationwide franchise.
Yeah, so that's one of the kind of issues that I at least see because it goes against the intention of this program. So we've heard of restaurant chains like Popeyes as well as Shake Shack actually successfully get funding through this program, while many other businesses are locked out and waiting to hear. So, for example, Shake Shack has currently a $1.6 billion market cap that's been publicly listed on the stock exchange. They have 6,000 employees and almost 600 million in revenue, 20 million in profit last year, but they just received a $10 million loan through this payroll protection program because they were able to consider each location as its own kind of standalone thing. And it really raises the question of how is this okay? How is this possible? But why did they need this loan when they actually have a really successful stock and they booked all this profit? What were they doing with that money? How come not only can they not pay payroll, but they should have enough cash on hand to even raise wages during these trying times?
So supposedly this was targeted for small businesses. We see things like Popeyes, Shake Shack, benefiting from the program while some small businesses are still waiting in the wind. I know you put your application in. What did you hear back?
I heard back that the program was more popular than they thought, and they know that I must be disappointed, but I'll get an email one day if the program resumes.
So you don't even know what your status was, whether it was processed, if you're in a line, like where are you?
Nothing.
You don't even know what your priority is.
Nothing, and I have a lot of similar colleagues in the same position where they, were really planning. They thought this was a lifeline. They thought it was too good to be true. Turned out it was. So we all feel a little bit naive. Put your application in the first day, nothing back, no tracking number. You're not denied. You're not approved. They're not asking for more information. And then they didn't get back to you. The program then runs out of funding. And now they're just saying, well, it doesn't really matter what place in line you're in. The program's on pause. Look to Congress to solve it.
And of course, there's a lot of political wrangling going on right now, some back and forth where the money seems to be being held up in Congress. So we don't even know if the program is going to get refunded and that money is going to come back to small businesses. But big franchises aren't the only ones that took advantage of this program and really shut out a lot of small business owners. We've seen reports of hedge funds going in there. Yes, technically they have less than 500 employees, but these are wildly profitable and successful hedge funds. People that aren't, unemployed at the time, they're certainly still employed. They're still working, and they're not being affected. Maybe like, let's say, a comic shop, which is being told you're non-essential and you have to close it down. That is where you sell your products. People aren't going to really go to your house to pick up their comic books. So it's a completely different animal. Yet these people are able to profit and really use this program at the expense of people who are really struggling right now.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's really a shame to see when you listen to the language of the program, when you watch the Secretary Treasury on TV. It sounds like, this is just for mom and pop stores. They're telling you on TV, every small business should apply. Everybody will be eligible. Like, don't worry, we're here to actually throw you this kind of lifeline. And comic shops really fit the bill. They're really struggling. You cover it really well on your channel of what those issues are. Some may be able to get it through with a small bank that they've worked with, but for the majority, I've seen, I think it was a Philadelphia-based comic shop. They're in the same situation. They applied the first day. They have no tracking number. They have nothing. And they're getting closer and closer to having to shutter their doors. Maybe not them particularly, but just in general, that's the situation. And yeah, the hedge funds, while they might have less than 500 employees, those are the guys that are making millions and $1 million trades, leveraging up to the tune of billions of dollars. And that's really not the industry where this money should go. It's kind of more for, small businesses actually struggling.
Yeah, it's so disappointing because you would think in a time like this that the nation would come together, we would understand the struggles of our neighbors, and we would try to help everyone out. But you see these people that are well-to-do, they don't need the money right now. But I guess the draw of changing your credit over to low interest or no interest loans was too great for them not to try and take advantage of it, even though they didn't really need it. And their neighbors did, or small businesses in their area needed that money, and they basically sucked it dry.
Yeah, and it's not to say that I feel for the Shake Shack workers, especially if they're in a town or city where the outbreak is quite serious and they still have to go to work. They should probably get a raise. So it's not like I'm against those people getting their payroll protected, but it's more looking at the corporate level. Why don't they use their profits that they already have? Why don't they sell some stock to actually be able to pay their employees, as opposed to dipping into this fund that is meant for your comic shop, your record shop. It could be even a dentist's office, what you kind of think of as the bread and butter of the American economy.
Yeah, and these places are, the fabric of the community. These are the places where we all go and meet, whether it be like a local pizzeria, a record store, maybe even a locally owned movie theater. Those people are absolutely getting devastated right now. Your comic shop, obviously, we cover that here on the channel. And those are the people that you would imagine need this money the most. It feels like they're being shut out because they're going to be asking for less money because the profits and operating expenses are going to be lower. And I know that's kind of what the payout was basically based on, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. It was that you take an average of your payroll for the last year. So that would be like what you're eligible to apply for. And the idea is it was like times 2.5x, so that you could potentially cover 8 weeks of payroll and use some of that for like utilities or rent or any other debts you had. And because people are still waiting for this and they're now locked out, I think the real concern is, even if they get it and they get it too late, once this economy starts to open back up, all these places that we love to go to as community members, might not be there because, this program was kind of a disaster in the way it was rolled out. The banks weren't ready because the government said, we're doing this really quickly. It's going successful. I actually saw a reporter ask the president in a press conference about the websites crashing. And he was just like, it's a tremendous launch. You should have framed the question that way. You're so mean. Say what you will, but it's true. The websites crashed. There was confusion. I went to webinar after webinar with accounting firms and different banks, and everyone said, like, we don't know how to answer these questions because the guideline's not finalized. So everyone was doing their best to try and help their clients, help these small businesses prepare these applications. But like I said, the guidance actually changed dramatically in the final hour. And so everybody was left scrambling, and probably the largest, entities like a Shake Shack that's public or a hedge fund, they have, really advanced legal team, and they were able to kind of navigate these waters. You can also imagine they probably have really advanced banking relations. So they have probably some executive, at a bank's personal number, and they could really push their application to the top of the pile.
Also, their operating costs and their payroll is probably likely to be orders of magnitude larger than a comic book shop or even a movie theater. And, they're getting a commission rate. The banks are on the amount of money going out. They're going to make more money the bigger that number is. And it really put everybody at a disadvantage. And it's just it sucks so bad to see this. It's infuriating, to be completely honest. It's hard to actually keep calm, during this conversation. And just to see so many people get screwed over by greed, and just another government program rolled out too soon, too fast, and just wasn't ready. And then they changed the guidelines at the last minute, and it really disadvantaged local businesses, mom and pop shops, the people that really need this, that are going to go under if they don't have a lifeline within the next few weeks, where these other companies that have a lot of money, they were definitely going to have access to a lot more credit, things of that nature, could survive longer, and they went and put themselves at the front of the line. The government really did that by advantaging the banks to pay those people out first.
Yeah, and I think that this kind of speaks to, we talked a lot about in comics how the distribution channel is a bit archaic. We're now seeing new distributors emerge because Diamond had this kind of, medieval-esque system. And we kind of see parallels here, where I saw a really great comment that, for years the government has become really efficient about collecting money from us in the form of taxes, but they didn't actually design any pipelines to give money out when it was most necessary. And so because of that, they had to enlist the bankers as their partners, and they need to incentivize those bankers to actually do this work. So that's where they get the commission, and the whole pipeline got clogged. So just like, comics need a new way to be distributed more efficiently, or maybe regionally, we kind of need a way where small businesses could actually have the security and the guarantee that they can actually receive funding in an efficient manner.
I wish I could say it was unexpected, but the way a lot of these government programs end up being run, it's always it's always one snafu after another. Hopefully this all gets worked out, and it gets and whoever has the oversight on this takes another look at what the rules are, understands where maybe they failed, and it gets refunded, and they try and really help these businesses out. And hopefully it's not too late, because for a lot of them it probably is.
Yeah, I agree. Where I'm watching closely, and I know many others are, to see now what happens next in Congress. And then we'll see, even if it gets funded again, maybe it's going to get drained really quickly again. For all we know, these large franchisees will catch on to the ones who did it first, and people could be locked out again. I really hope not. I'm pretty upset myself. I feel a little bit naive thinking the program sounded so great. And now I see kind of brethren and other shops that are, still not able to get any feedback of when they might get this actual support.
Well, Nalo, not exactly the most uplifting topic, but it's something we definitely needed to cover. We've been talking a lot more financial stuff, and you change your Twitter handle to Comics Finance, on Twitter, and it sounds like you're going to be diving more into this stuff. You have a good grasp of it, a good knowledge, and you're able to talk about it. So we'll definitely be covering it more here on the channel. Hopefully next time we have something a little bit more positive. Maybe they fix the program, but we'll definitely keep people updated. And hopefully we won't be talking about a lot of comic shops being closed down.
Yeah, I hope so too. And yeah, thanks for having me on, Wes. Look forward to the next conversation.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.